views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Voices of Women is a talk radio show that gives voice to the personal stories of women. It will inspire women and enlighten men to follow their dreams and create positive changes in their lives. Whether the audience listens to best-selling authors or a layperson like themselves, they'll realize there are others with similar experiences and feelings to their own. This show will give women tools they can use every day, which will empower them to step out of their boxes and create the changes they desire in their life. Kris inspires women to find their voices, speak up, and become leaders of their own life. Everyone has their gifts to share with the world, and it's time for women to work together to bring honor and respect to the feminine voice, which is within all people, men and women. Topics include personal growth, spirituality, creativity, leadership, and divine feminine. Now here's your host, Kris Steinnes.
Welcome to Voices of Women. Hey, it's Friday, and I can't say I'm going to have a free weekend because I'm finalizing our brochures. It's very exciting for our 24th annual Women of Wisdom Conference. We're going to launch early next week. Could be ready on Monday, definitely Tuesday. You'll be able to go in and see who's coming and all the amazing workshops that they will be giving. We're a very experiential, transformational conference, unlike others where you sit in a hall of 500 people and listen to someone talk for an hour. So come and join us for this experience. Put February 11th to the 15th on your calendar. Everything will be up on our website. Our new conference website is www.thewowconference.org. And we have special early bird offers, so you're going to want to go and find that, what those are for you. So today, I'm excited. I'm going to be talking with Brenda Michaels. She's the author of The Gift of Cancer, and that is her journey to healing from a 14-year battle with cancer. 25 years after being given a year to live, Brenda believes that cancer saved her life. She's now a respected speaker, workshop leader, and co-host of the highly successful daily radio show Conscious Talk on KKNW, which is out of Seattle, Washington. Brenda's committed to raising consciousness to living on our planet as a conscious being. And we're going to go right into it and talk about Brenda's book and her healing journey. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Kris. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, so we want to hear about your story, how you healed the cancer you had. And you had cancer. It came up 3 times before you actually then went on this healing journey. And I want to go back to your life was quite different when all this happened to you. So who were you when you first discovered you had cancer? And I imagine you can't even recognize you're not the same person than you were back then.
I'm not, that is for sure. I was a person that was driven, ambitious. I was a person that was living more on the yang side of my energy than the yin, or the balance between the yin and the yang. The yang meaning more the male, aggressive, more the doer and the action taker. But I was also someone that was holding on to a lot of anger and bitterness and resentment from the past, the way I was raised, and holding on to blaming my parents, and blaming other people in my life for why I felt miserable. And I was actually doing pretty well in my chosen career. That wasn't the issue. Money wasn't the issue for me. But no matter what I found myself doing in my life, I wasn't happy. I was very unhappy. There was a huge inner turmoil or inner war going on inside of me. And people that would meet me would never suspect that, because I was very good at covering that up, which I think we become masters at putting on a certain face out in the public, which I was good at. And what was going on inside, I really feel after the cancer came, the third time, and I began to wake up, was I was leading a lifestyle that was conducive to ultimately getting some type of chronic disease. And sure enough, I did.
Yeah. And 3 times is kind of like a big knock on the head, right?
Yeah, I often tell my clients, and when I'm out speaking, I tell my audience, that the God knocks 3 times. And first time that God knocks, it's a tap on the door. And the second time that God knocks, it's a knock on the door. And the third time, the door is blown down. And that's really what happened for me. I mean, having been diagnosed 3 times, and it really did take the third diagnosis for me to start looking at what was really going on with me. Why was my body, why were cells overproducing the way they were? What was really going on with me? And I began to tie it to my level of unhappiness and the lifestyle that I was living. You know, I was, like I said, I was driven and ambitious, and I partied a lot and I drank a lot, and at that point in my life I was still smoking, and I wasn't eating healthy, and I was doing a lot of things that were conducive on a physical level that are not healthy, but on an inner level I was also very diseased, holding on to all of that energy that was very negative and very down, low energy. And I was holding on to all of that and unaware that all of that, including the environment I lived in, was affecting me.
Yes, and I think that comes to that realization, that point where we realize what is impacting you in your life. And it really, we're going to get into this more deeply too, of just what it is that you have to face. But I want to go to, when you first were diagnosed, or probably the third time particularly, obviously you must have been afraid. And how did you deal with that fear in the beginning?
I was terrified. There's no doubt about it that the word cancer is a very terrifying word to hear. And when it's you that they're saying that you have this cancer, and for me the third time in particular, where the prognosis was so poor, I was terrified, and I didn't know how to deal with the fear. One of the ways that we try to deal with it is to numb ourselves, to get away from it, to do anything to distract ourselves. And I started to do that, and then I realized that something that showed up for me that made me realize this is when the doctor said to me, and he had suggested this the first 2 times I had the cancer, but didn't really push it. But this time he was adamant that I do chemotherapy. And I started to sit with that. And every time I would say that word out loud, or I would think that word, or someone would say it to me, I began to notice a reaction that my body was having. And it was like someone had a fist sitting in my gut. And when I thought about it, when I said anything about it, when it was brought up, I could feel that fist just tightening up in my gut. And I began to pay attention to that, and I began to just kind of sink into that feeling and kind of be with it. And then I started to hear messages coming, and I describe it as a voice, but you hear something in your mind is what you hear. And I was hearing that this was not the path for me. And I was getting that viscerally, in my gut, that feeling. And so I began to realize that maybe walking that particular path for me was not going to be the best way for me to go, even though I had no clue what I was going to do. I had absolutely no clue. I was beginning to understand that I couldn't go down that road. And so I got into prayer. I started praying a lot. And I began to meditate, and I began to ask questions about, what can I do and what would be best for me. And I was receiving messages, and I had never had that connection before that time. But I believe that this was my time, that the cancer was there to wake me up to a higher being that, that we have, that higher being that we are at the highest levels, and that when we tune in intuitively and into the heart chakra in that area, then we can get those messages, and that's when I began getting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is that going inside and listening to your voice, because for some people chemotherapy may be the correct thing, but you need to find out for yourself. And
yes. And I think all too often, Kris, we don't. I think we are so afraid, and we are so dependent on what our doctors tell us and what they recommend for us that we don't take that time to get as quiet as we can. We don't ask those questions at an inner level. And I know to quiet that chatty voice and the fear around it, it takes some doing and it takes some practice. But if we will do it and we will ask sincerely for that help, I know it's there for us. And even if that voice is telling us, or we have a feeling that, yes, chemotherapy is the right place for me to go, the right path, then we can go down that path with much more hope and assurance than simply going down it because we have been told we're supposed to, or it's the only thing for us. And then we don't walk that path with our hearts open and with hope and certainty. We walk it with a lot of doubt and fear, and even sometimes resistance, because we don't really want to do that protocol, but we feel we have no choice.
Yeah, and what you said about, we're such a culture that trusts our doctors, and what they say is true, and excuse me, and you see that all along, and the importance of having even an advocate with you or somebody to be with you, and
yes.
And we never question. We go, oh, okay, the doctors told me this. I've got to do this. And we don't question it. We don't look inside and go, well, was this correct? Should I get another opinion? All that,
yes.
And we see it time and time again, don't we?
Yes. And what I learned about that, Kris, and maybe this could be a nugget for your listening audience, I learned that when we're sitting in any type of fear or doubt or worry, that is what is called resistant energy. And our energy is resisting. We're resisting. We're resisting what is. We're resisting what could be. And then the mind gets in and all the fear is brought up. And all of that energy is contracted, resistant energy. And if we want to mount our energy for healing, we want to be in forward-moving energy. And to be in forward-moving energy is to be aligned with the path that we're taking. And
yes.
If we're on a path toward healing, cancer, curing, I never use the word cure. I always use the word heal, but you can replace it with cure if you want. If you're on that path, then you want to do everything to mount your energy that moves you forward on that path and not struggling with the energy of being in that fear and contraction and resistance, because the body's working hard enough the way it is.
Yeah.
We want to help
we're going
to
hear more about this and get into detail about this. This is Kris Steinnes. You're listening to Voices of Women. We'll come right back.
Kris Steinnes is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
What does it mean to be healthy? For each of us, it means something a little different. Discover the art of herbal medicine, a natural way to help our bodies respond better to the modern-day stress and toxicity of our everyday lives. Using organic herbs from around the world, the skilled herbalists at Urban Wellness in Kirkland can help you choose the herbs that are right for your body. Find your herbal solutions for common health issues at urbanwellness.com. That's HERBAN wellness.com.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com.
Enlightening, humorous, and compassionate. Listen live to The Kelly Ballard Show, insight and inspiration from the great beyond. Kelly is a fourth-generation medium and intuitive who covers topics ranging from grief, spirit guides, and listening to your intuition. Kelly can help you get answers and guidance from the other side with a little bit of humor and a lot of healing. Tune in to The Kelly Ballard Show, Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
welcome back to Voices of Women. I'm with Brenda Michaels, the author of her new book, The Gift of Cancer. So, Brenda, you were just sharing, we were just getting into that topic of the difference between healing and curing. You know, a lot of us, that's that sort of traditional medical system is you talk about curing, finding the cure. But a lot of times that doesn't heal people.
Right. And that's a great distinction to make, Kris, because this is why I don't talk about curing, because curing really is talking about dealing with the physical body only. And I have found out through my years of, going through cancer, but also working with other clients and learning and growing, which I love learning and growing, and I continue to do that, is that when we have a chronic illness, a chronic disease, we have to heal the whole person, the entire person, which means we heal the emotional dis-ease, we heal the spiritual dis-ease, we heal the thinking, the mental disease, the thought process, the patterning. And when we do that, the physical body has a way higher chance, a much greater opportunity to heal, and will heal along with that healing. But when we're only going after the physical, we might put the physical in remission, but what happened to me was the physical was in remission 2 different times, and it came back a 3rd time because I hadn't done the healing work that I really feel we need to do in order to be healed and whole.
So tell us a little bit of how that was for you. I mean, you had to take a hard look at your life, your belief systems, all the things, we all have a lot of baggage, we all have it. And I think in your book, you talked about yourself being taking, and you even shared here a little bit about I use the word victim, that, blaming everybody else for what our life's like. And it takes a lot of courage. So what was that, for you?
Well, it was almost as scary as having cancer, having to look in the mirror of yourself, having to admit to yourself that this is really happening inside of you. This is really you sponsoring this reality outside of you, that you're really, you're really playing the victim role here, looking deep into where you, are a part of the equation on the other side of relationship, and where you're pointing the finger at another person or circumstance. All of that is very, very scary work to do. But there was a voice in me that continued to support me to keep going in that direction, that continued to support me to go deeper, to look under the covers, to look at my belief system, to look at my thought processes and what was I thinking about most of the time, to looking at my judgmental side, to looking at my side that was always wanting but never really believing that I could have, which was that unworthiness piece, to look at that piece in me that never felt good enough. Those were the pieces that came up for me to examine and to go into and to really look at and to really find out what was underneath all of that so I could heal that. Those were just the wounds that were there, and they made themselves really available for me, and it was up to me to forgive myself and to take as much compassion and patience into that healing work as I decided to do, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to get the results I was really looking for.
Yes, and this is not easy work, and it is courageous. No. Did you set up for yourself a method of doing this, some principles that to commit yourself to?
I did. What I did is the very first thing I started doing was I did start the meditation and the prayer, and that was a discipline that I did every single day. And that was getting into the stillness. And I had a very difficult time meditating because I have a very active mind, and it did not want to take a back seat to, going into the stillness and going deeper and really listening. But I was very committed. That voice in me was really supporting me and really helping me to know that if I really wanted this, It was mine to have, but that I had to commit to it. And I had to commit that energy at a soul level, heart and soul, which is what I did. And then I started doing those practices of meditating and praying, and I started keeping a journal, and I got into gratitude, and I began to keep a gratitude journal, looking for everything in my life. And I didn't realize until I started my gratitude journal how many things in my life I had to be grateful for, because I walked around always feeling like I didn't have enough because I wasn't enough. I believed I wasn't enough, so I would never have enough of anything. I would live in that lack, whether it was lack of friends or lack of love or lack of health or lack of money. It wouldn't matter. Lack would show up somewhere in my life because I was holding that belief, and that's what led me to look at my beliefs and to really get into those deeper core beliefs that really we're not even aware of. They're in our subconscious, but they actually run our lives. We make a lot of our choices and decisions based on those beliefs. Those beliefs sponsor thoughts that sponsor perception, and we pretty much, perceive and experience, and we live by that perception. And so I began to look at all of that. And so I began to unravel all of that the very best I can by reading every book I could get my hands on, by sitting in front of Marianne Williamson every Tuesday night. I had the opportunity to do that. I heard about her. I realized the Course in Miracles was something I wanted to learn. I read the Course in Miracles twice. I went and sat in front of Marianne Williamson. I did everything I could to learn, to release, and to grow.
And this process, you said this is a 14-year journey of healing.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I don't think we ever stop healing. I'm still on that journey. I'm just in a different stage of my journey now. I was more at the floor level then, and I'm not that many floors above the floor level even yet, but at least I'm not in that diseased state in my life anymore. And that takes that commitment. I believe now, Kris, it will happen faster for people now because the energy is on the planet for this so much now, more than it was 25 years ago. So I believe once you commit to the healing process, there's so much available and so much energy available for this. It doesn't take people 14 years.
Yes, and there's lots of healing clinics. There's lots of working together with the medical system of some organizations that do the natural healing along with, including the processes you're talking about, meditation and exercise and herbal things and,
and yoga and eating a very highly dense, nutritious diet, all organic, because the environment, they say cancer is a lifestyle disease, and it truly is. It isn't just our inner environment, it is our outer environment. The relationships we're in, and I was in very toxic relationships, and how could I be in anything else? Because that's where I was. I was in a toxic relationship with myself. So my outer relationships would definitely reflect that. I lived in a toxic environment. I didn't realize how many chemicals and how many things in my environment were not good for me either. And so I took a look at all of that because that was part of that wholeness and that healing process.
Yeah, so let's talk about that process because I know you write about it in the book, but it's a very stringent diet and way of living, and it would and I have a friend who did it too more recently. Includes coffee enemas, which is sort of get the poisons out of your body. Right. But what was your day like? Because it's an intense thing.
It was totally intense, I have to tell you. And I was very blessed. My ex-husband, who's my ex-husband now, he was my then-husband, was wonderful. He was very supportive. We happened to be blessed. We were living in L.A., and I was pursuing my acting career then, and he was pursuing a career in the movie industry, and he was employed by one of the top directors there the third time my cancer was diagnosed, and that was a very fortuitous and blessed thing that happened in our life because it gave us the income. It supported us in such a way that I didn't have to work, and so I was able to commit my days I made my new job. I ducked out of the acting world and said, okay, my job now is to get myself as healthy, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally as I can, and this is my new job. And I went at it every day as this was what I was here to do each day. And so and I committed all my time to it. And I was very blessed to be able to do that. But I believe if you choose that path, and it is a priority in your life, whatever we choose as a priority, the time makes itself available, however that comes to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we need to be aware of what's our priorities.
Yes.
Because some people would just continue working, and not, you did the 100%, and you were able to. Well, in reality, not everybody's able to.
Right.
So there's that too. And so how do you balance
but
that?
I do believe that once you commit to something at that deepest level, whatever you need, whether it's time, whatever, money, whatever shows up, you have to make the commitment first.
Yeah, that's so true. And to realize that the universe is abundant and will bring forward what you are needing.
Yes, because you've committed to it at that deepest level. You know, we say we want things in our lives, but I always have to look. When I say I want to manifest something, I always look now at how deeply I desire it. Do I really, really desire this? Am I passionate about it? And if I am, then what I need always presents itself. But if I go into it and say, yeah, I really want it, and my mind thinks, we really want this, but when I feel into it and I don't feel the real deep passion for it, then I know that it's not going to come easy. I can make it happen, but it's not going to come in the ease and the grace that I would like it to.
Yeah, so true. Well, this is Kris Steinnes. You're listening to Voices of Women. We're going to take a short break and come back and speak more with Brenda Michaels.
Put a little woohoo in your life with Keys. Keys Clear Protein Waters have 22 grams of smile-making, attitude-adjusting protein in every bottle. Did I mention its tongue-tingling taste? Not just another guilty pleasure. With Keys, you'll enjoy every low-sugar sip and freedom from gluten, lactose, and GMOs. Who needs the fountain of youth when you can find Keys on Amazon or at Keys, Kees, please.com. Put a little woohoo in your attitude with Keys Protein Water.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in to Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Kris Steinnes is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
Welcome back to Voices of Women. I'm Kris Steinnes. We're talking about The Gift of Cancer by the author Brenda Michaels. So Brenda, can you give your website information and what you might have some things on your website to share with people?
Yes, the website is Intentional Shift, SHIF as in Frank T, intentionalshift.com. And there's actually a clip of me on the Today Show. I was a guest on there last May, which was really a wonderful opportunity, and it was just such a heartfelt time that I was able to share there, and that was really great. And there's blogs. There are weekly blogs on there, and a lot of great information, and also they can purchase the book off that site if they haven't, or they can go to Amazon.com or any of their bookstores.
Mm-hmm. So the title, Gift of Cancer, The Gift of Cancer. Let's talk about how cancer was a gift for you.
Well, cancer was truly a gift in my life, and it continues to be. And the reason I say that is, first and foremost, it took this disease to get my attention. It took this disease and almost dying from it for me to wake up and really look at myself and my life and how I was living and what choices I was making and where I was investing my energy and who I was investing my energy in, and really understanding that I was not investing my energy in me and all the good things about myself, but investing my energy in the negative and in other people and looking outside of myself for everything. And so that was just one of the gifts.
Yeah.
But it
and it's so common.
To give.
We're taught to do that, look outside, and it's, the answers really aren't there.
They're not there, and they will never be there. And yet we still tend to want to do that because we're so well trained that way. And of course we have television that's really a distraction, and we're fed all these messages, whether they're out in front of us or they're subliminal messages. So it really takes some effort, and again, that commitment piece, to really see beyond all of that and to really get clear within yourself who you are, what you came here to, what piece of the puzzle you came here to contribute, what you came here to learn, how you came here to grow, and how you can make a difference in your own life and the lives of others.
And that's such a key, how you, knowing your gifts are, and that you're here to make a difference for other people.
Yes, and everybody is. Everybody has certain gifts and talents that the world is waiting for. And to hide behind the ego's defense mechanism and the beliefs that we're not good enough or we don't have anything to share or we'll never measure up in that comparison thing, that's all that structure, that ego structure, and that's all that energy and fear and doubt and worry and unworthiness that we are, I believe now, we are climbing out of. I believe there's a huge shift happening on the planet right now, and we are all beginning to wake up in our own way.
And so you're like a pathfinder that people can find you to work with them because, we still deal, I look at how ways I sabotage myself. And, I was just thinking as you're talking, I was just thinking all these things that we go through, of feeling unworthy and we don't deserve and all those things is almost like that's a cancer because it's not us. It's not truly us.
It is. Anything that creates disease, dis-ease is a cancer. And that truly is a cancer in probably every being here. I feel we all came here because we came here to learn and to grow and to do certain mastership work on the planet, on ourselves. And so I don't think we'd be here unless we were carrying those structures in and through us. And so it's pretty much a universal thing. And there's just so much help out there right now. And I know for myself, Kris, people say, oh, you must have this charmed life now. No. I don't have a charmed life. I still have my challenges. I still catch myself every once in a while starting to sabotage, like you said, do the self-sabotage thing. The difference is I have the awareness of it now, and I can catch myself. That's the difference. And so I have the tools now that when I do catch myself, I can release that. That's the difference. It isn't that I'm perfect or that everything works for me, not at all. I feel we're all human and our life's work is to learn and grow and become more of who we are.
Yeah, so what do you do when that comes up? That little sabotaging voice of, to let it go, to release it. What do you do?
Well, first of all, and I think this is a big piece, and it's really the big piece with having cancer as well or facing anything, whether you're facing a divorce or you just lost all your money or you lost a loved one, whatever, is to accept what is. In other words, when something comes up, if that piece comes up for me, am I going to go into self-judgment and beat myself up for going there again and thinking how stupid I was and how can I, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this to myself again? Or am I going to choose love, which is, okay, this is what's happening right now. I may not like it, but it is what is happening right now, and I breathe into that. I breathe into that to bring peace into my body, to bring calmness into my mind, to settle myself down. And if there's judgment sitting there, I'm willing to just breathe the judgment out of my body, just to breathe it out, to release it. The breath is a very powerful tool that we don't, I think, really know how powerful it is. And to use the breath to breathe into what is, to calm and bring peace and to settle, and to breathe out what no longer serves us is I do this all the time, and it's a very powerful tool. So that's what I would do when I catch myself sabotaging. I would sit myself down, I would stop, and I would go, okay, this is what is happening right now. I'm going back into this old pattern. I breathe into that so I can bring some peace, release the judgment, allow compassion to fill my body and my heart, and then I breathe out the doubt or the worry or whatever is creating the sabotage. I just breathe it out. And I do that until I feel centered and feel like I'm back on track. And then I get on with my day.
Mm-hmm. And doing that allows you to, you talk about in the beginning, it's like being in that yin place and allowing,
yes.
Solutions will come to you. You don't force it in that yang way. It's just like when you allow yourself and go in that, breathing and calming and centering yourself and not focusing on what's happening in front of you. And you say, letting it go, it allows for the universe to provide answers to these issues that we're having, because we all have them.
It also changes your brain wave patterns. Every time you catch yourself and you interrupt that pattern and you create a healthier pattern, each time you go down the road of the healthier pattern, then the old pattern, which will always be there, they're always there, but they lose energy, and you're creating a new pattern, a new neural pathway in the brain. And every time you create a new neural pathway and you enforce the new neural pathway, you're strengthening that and lessening the old pattern.
Mm-hmm. So then it happens less often. And I think, too, one of the things is to really look at what's coming up for you. What are you feeling when this, sabotage or whatever is happening, to go inside and, like you said, look at your feelings, look at your beliefs, all that, to get to a core issue that, because there's always, goes down to some core issue, whether it's a trauma as a kid or messages you received, and release it from there rather than what's happening right in front of you, because it goes deeper.
And to allow yourself to have that feeling, because you are feeling it. It is real in the moment, and I allow myself to go through that feeling, to have it, to be with it, again, to be with it. Because the automatic response is to reject that feeling or to push it away or distract yourself or pretend you're not really feeling that, deny that you're feeling that. Being with that feeling and accepting that feeling is what allows that energy to dissipate. If you don't, and you push it away or deny it, you're giving it power. You're giving it more energy. And you may push it deep inside, but it's going to rear its head again.
Yes, that's so true. And we can't, and a lot of times when people are faced with things like they have cancer, when the first, it's like there's that denial part, like, that can't be. It's like you have to face things, and that's what you did so courageously. But it took you 3 times to really face it. And sometimes that's what life does. It's like if you don't listen the first time, it'll come back if it's really meant for you to be dealing with something. Well, this is Kris Steinnes. We're going to take a short break and come back and for our last segment and talk more with Brenda Michaels.
Are you feeling broken from your relationships? Are you second-guessing yourself about friends, family, and lovers? Tune into the hit show that's creating a buzz in the love-seeking community, Love Seeker Radio, finding love for your authentic self with renowned love coach Heather Lynn. Tired of dissatisfying relationships? Kiss them goodbye and power up your love seeker energy. Coach Heather Lynn reminds you that you can just be you, the beautiful and perfect you. Visit heatherlynncoaching.com to learn more.
A word of caution, if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Artie Hoffman is the hottest psychic with the warmest heart and the host of the hit show Angels and Answers. A renowned psychic, medium, spiritual life coach, and an entertaining motivational speaker, Artie has helped over 15,000 people with his amazing intuitive gifts, his passion, and his humor. Call 877-ANGEL-02 to schedule a personal reading or to have your own psychic Artie party. That's 877-ANGEL-02. And visit artiehoffman.com and Angels and Answers on Facebook.
Kris Steinnes is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit maryjanemack.com.
Welcome back to Voices of Women. We have Brenda Michaels as our guest today. She's the author of The Gift of Cancer. And she gave her website. You can check out her books and information at www.intentionalshift.com. Okay, Brenda, so I'd love for you to share with our audience, advice on what to do. Like for people who just found out they've had cancer, what do you tell people, like the first step they should take?
Well, the very first step I would take is to always get a second opinion. Always get a second opinion. And then once the diagnosis is, made by the second opinion, then you're certain you know what you're dealing with. And then you have to decide, how you want to go through this. And you're going to certainly counsel with your doctor, but I really recommend that you really stay in touch with how you're feeling when you're sitting in front of your doctor, when you're listening to what he says. Be sure and take a person with you, an advocate, a spouse, a friend, because a lot of times there's a lot of fear running through your body. Your mind isn't able to shut off, and you might miss something that the doctor says. I even recommend that you take in a little voice recorder and you record what the doctor tells you. So when you get in your own space and you get a little bit calmed down, you can listen to what the doctor is suggesting. And then tune in. Start to really feel what that feels like, what the doctor's telling you. If it feels like the best place for you to go, if it's chemotherapy or radiation or surgery, then feel into that. Sit with that. See how it feels. If it feels right, then commit to it and go with your heart and soul. And don't look back. And do what you feel you need to do to reclaim your life.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think, too, in reading your book, even resonating with the doctor of their stance about healing. And are they supporting your views? Because you didn't feel heard.
I wasn't heard. And a lot of times this happens because, doctors that deal with this every day, they're looking at statistics. They don't have time to look at each patient individually. And they're going from past experience. And, Kris, we know that when you bring the past into the present, you get to replay a lot of the past. So I feel it is our responsibility as the patient to really monitor ourselves and monitor our feelings and monitor what we're thinking and monitor what signals our body is giving us, and make sure we're partnered with a doctor that respects that.
Yes, and so many people have a hard time speaking up. Especially, we look at doctors as being authoritarian figures, and if we have trouble speaking what we're feeling, and that's one of the most important things that you need to do there in that particular moment, and yet people struggle with that.
Yes. Well, for me now, knowing what I know now, if I had an authoritarian doctor, I would have to just be honest and tell him that this relationship wasn't working out for me and I was going to go to another doctor. I know that takes courage to say that, but if you're willing to really take exquisite care of yourself, a lot of times taking exquisite care of yourself is speaking up. And it isn't always saying things that people want to hear, but it is imperative that we do that to take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we will let someone else pull the strings or tell us what to do.
Yes, and it's our life. I mean, it's really up to us, and that's a choice too. You're making a choice for your life, even when you're not speaking up.
Absolutely. You're making a choice to put it in the hands of someone outside of you. And that's a big part of why I wrote this book, and a huge part of the message that I put out there is that we have to take responsibility for ourselves. This is the time that we show up for ourselves and we be responsible for our feelings, for our actions, for our choices and decisions. That's what empowers us. Otherwise, we will be victim to whatever circumstances playing outside of us, and who's ever pulling the cord on that one, they're the ones that are going to make those decisions for us. And that's part of the dis-ease that we carry when we are not empowered from within.
Yeah, and that's the healing work.
Yes, absolutely the healing work. And people can take these principles that I write about and what I talk about into their life, whether it's a nasty divorce they're going through. It doesn't have to just be a health issue, Kris. It can be a money issue, a divorce issue, a loss of someone, a betrayal, because these are universal principles of healing. You can heal anything through this way of being.
And so let's just recap that as our closing of the way of being, of how you see that for people.
Well, it's really people showing up for themselves. It's really finally taking a stand for you and saying, this is different than how I've ever operated, but right now in this particular circumstance, I really need to take care of myself. And that means I'm going to have to make some really difficult choices, but I'm willing to make those choices. And I want people to know that when they stand in that place, and it takes faith, but when they actually are willing to take that leap of faith, everything they need to support that shows up in their life. And I know that from experience that I've had over and over and over. That once I committed to me, everything I needed to support me was there.
Yeah, that's so important to know. And I think for some people, that you have to change your belief system, because you need to believe that. And a lot of us don't believe that, because no one's been there for us before. And so we even don't think we're there for us.
Well, that's why we have to take that leap of faith to have that experience, because once we have the experience, then we believe. But we have to take the leap of faith to have the experience, or we'll never have it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is a leap of faith. And, that's what happens sometimes when you're faced with some, life and death. That's, with cancer, you're faced with life and death. And so then you do make extraordinary leaps, just like you did.
Mm-hmm. And once that's where the
healing comes.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Brenda.
Well, thank you, Kris. I so appreciate it, and I thank you for letting me address your audience.
Yeah. So everybody can check out her book, The Gift of Cancer. I'm sure it's on Amazon. It's on her website, intentionalshift.com, and lots of good messages there in her book, and a healing journey. So everybody can benefit from reading the book. So I'm Kris Steinnes. I'm the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation. Just want to pass on some things. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to be launching our conference next week. It'll be up on the website. There's going to be early bird specials. Right now we have a call for our temple applications. Those are for intuitive readers and energy healers. The deadline's November 20th, and you can find that out, application form online at our website, thewowconference.org. And I'm going to be speaking at the Sailors Sea Pioneers Conference. It's next weekend, November 6th through 8th. It's at the Whidbey Institute, which is on Whidbey Island, which is just an hour north of Seattle. It's going to be a great, powerful weekend exploring how we can work together towards social justice and many of the issues we're facing in our world. You can find out information about it at whidbeyinstitute.org. And there's scholarships available, too, to attend. I'm really looking forward to that. And also check out my book. It's a Amazon bestseller, an award-winning book, Women of Wisdom, Empowering the Dreams and Spirit of Women. If you have friends who need some inspiration, or you do, it's also a great holiday gift. It's a compilation of many things that are part of the Women of Wisdom Conference. Some of our featured keynote speakers, their wonderful messages on the Divine Feminine. There's art and poetry. And you can read about the book at womenofwisdom.org. You purchase there. It benefits Women of Wisdom. So again, that's womenofwisdom.org, and our conference website, thewowconference.org. So next week, I'm excited. I'm going to be speaking with Myra Kelly, author of Beyond Past Lives. She's going to be giving a 2-day intensive workshop at the conference in February. And so you're not going to want to miss that talk. It's also about healing from beyond past lives. Okay, well, we're at the end of the show, so everybody have a great weekend.
You've been listening to Voices of Women with Kris Steinnes. Tune in each Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Voices of Women Today, radio with Kris Steinnes.